Football Network will stop by. We'll get the lowdown on all things Cincinnati, including, Michael, I hope, the truth about Skyline Chili. I'm very curious if he's a local who will tell us the truth, because they all try to sell us on how amazing it is, and I gotta say it is disgusting. It is really bad. It's really bad.
I don't understand how you put spaghetti on chili. Like, that's just not me. It just doesn't look right to me. I'm with you, Stormy. I'm 100% supporting you on that one. I don't get it. But look, Barrett's ice cream is good from Cincinnati's too. Now, have you had that?
I have not.
That's another staple in the little bit. To get his opinion on that, would be good too, to see what he thinks how that ice cream grades, because it is good. But the chili thing, I don't know. It's the same thing up in Green Bay. You know, they have the chili place in Green Bay where they put the noodle, where it's spaghetti noodles. I have sneakers on the brain, but that's where Lombardi used to go for breakfast. I have a picture of it over here in my office. And I forget the name of the chili place. It'll come to me. But anyway, we'll look for it. You know, we can do the restaurant things in town. I'll tell you what's great in Cincinnati is Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse, if you ever go. Best part about it is they have jelly beans in well, this is pre-COVID now, where they had a big bowl of jelly beans.
Yeah.
You know, any steakhouse that has the big jelly beans, not the little ones.
I don't think I've ever seen jelly beans at a steakhouse in general. So that sounds just like something that I personally would enjoy with the sweet tooth that I have.
Oh yeah, you know, I'm putting them in my pocket on the way out, even though I'm completely full because I'm a good fat guy, you know. But it's good.
Ice cream and jelly beans.
Jeff Ruby's is good.
This is the way that I need to start every show, just talking food. Unbelievable. But excited for that conversation that we'll have with him.
I mean, we're in Cincy.
Yeah.
Every city has these little delicacies that you got to learn about. That's one of the things about being on the road scouting. You know, when you're on the road, and this is before diners, drive-in, and dives, where you actually would go on the road and you wanted to go to some of these places. Now, you know, he's made all these places famous, but you always wanted to go to, like if you're driving from Chicago up to Madison, or if you're going to Kenosha's, you want to make sure you go to Frank's Diner. And there's like all these places you want to hit. It's great.
That's something that I've tried to make sure I incorporate more with my sideline stuff when I get out to a city early. You have to do some research and find a good local establishment and like make sure that you're getting a feel and a flavor for the town.
Have you been to the one in Birmingham? Because Bill Berman and I want to do this one. There's in Birmingham, the Bear used to eat at this Greek restaurant all the time, and they have a booth specially designed. I saw it on the great show, True South. If anybody ever wants to learn about the South and the restaurants, Wright Thompson and John Edge do a great job. It's a show called The True South. It's on ESPN Plus. It's impossible to get to. I mean, you have to navigate 17 things. I mean, yeah, it's a pain in the neck, but sometimes it's on the Southeast Conference channel, which makes it a lot easier to see. But it's a great show, and Bear used to go to this Greek restaurant. There's a bunch of Greeks immigrated to Birmingham. Don't ask me why. I don't understand it. But that being said, you know, Bear used to go have lunch there or dinner there when he was on the road recruiting, and they have a whole part of the section of the restaurant just tailored for him. It was great. I need to see it. I want to see it and experience it.
I hadn't been there, and I've been to Birmingham a good bit. A couple years ago, I was working an event there where I was in Birmingham for 10 days. I was there a couple times over the last few weeks, and there's a lot of great restaurants. It's a very good, like, sneaky, underrated foodie town. So if you do go, I haven't been there, I'll add that to the list. I'll do some research. But Eugene's Hot Chicken, El Barrio, East West, like, there's so many good things out there. Birmingham, very underrated. And all of this food talk, guys, I've got to admit, is probably just me deflecting a little bit because, like the great Ron Burgundy once said, I'm in a glass case of emotion right now after what transpired on the ice in Sunrise, Florida, with the Florida Panthers losing 5-3 in Game 5 to the Edmonton Oilers. The series is extended. We're headed back to Edmonton, where, mind you, Connor McDavid and the Oilers are favored on home ice. We'll see if we end up getting the long series that we thought on paper we might get at the start. I thought last night Florida was going to win. And you knew in the first period when Florida has a bad, ugly pass at the blue line on the power play, which looked so disconnected and gross, and Edmonton breaks out and ultimately scores a shorthanded goal to open up the scoring, that it was going to be a long day. Florida, in my opinion, did turn into the better team late in the game, but too little, too late. Edmonton and Connor McDavid showed up, and we've got ourselves a series on our hands, Michael.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. What's the over-under on F-bombs on the shorthanded goal that happened in the house?
I would say 6.5 is probably a safe number. I was not in a good place in the first period, Michael. I was not in a good place.
We'll get Chris to verify this. Yeah. Well, I don't blame you. I mean, it all looks like it's going to go. Yeah, I mean, take the over. Here's the thing that's interesting. The way McDavid's playing, they get to go home. Now, if you're Edmonton, you can't just think the home crowd is going to get you to win. You've got to play your best, right? You've got to come down there and play your best. You're doing something that's rarely ever done in professional sports, which is win 4 playoff games against great teams. So it's going to be a huge challenge. And look, I know we make a big deal about the distance going from Florida, Fort Lauderdale, all the way up to Edmonton, which is an extremely long plane ride, but they'll be in comfort. It won't be that bad. Now, I know it'll be loud there. I gave a speech in Edmonton last year. I know how passionate those fans are about hockey, as everybody in Canada is, but seeing there because of all the traditions that have gone on there with the great Gretzky, this is a moment to shine. So, but that's not going to sell the fact that you've got to play your best hockey. McDavid continues to play as well as he does. You know, when your star player is playing at an elite level, you got a chance to win every game.
He is 2 points shy of tying Wayne Gretzky for the most points in a single cup final. He already bested Gretzky's record for assists in the postseason and is 4th all-time in postseason points behind only Gretzky and Lemieux. And just to think about that rarefied air we're talking about with Connor McDavid right now, he also is the first player in cup final history with 4 points in back-to-back games, 8 points over the last 2 wins for the Edmonton Oilers. Again, they are -125, -128 favorites right now coming up in Game 6. They cash as a +125 dog last night after back-to-back unders to open up the series. The floodgates have opened. We have 3 straight overs with 7+ goals scored in each. Yet the Game 6 total still set there at that 5.5. In terms of the series prices, Panthers were as high as -2,500 when they were up 3-0. Still -350 right now, but as we talked about in hour 1, Edmonton very live, it seems, with the momentum that they are carrying at +275 in the series. Oilers now 13 goals when facing elimination in the final. They're the second most in Stanley Cup Final history, behind only the 1942 Maple Leafs, who are the only team ever to successfully rally from down 3-0 to win a cup. Can the Oilers make history and be the second? Okay, last couple minutes here. Let's get into a little bit of NBA conversation. We referenced this in hour 1, but the big news in the association today, Monty Williams out in Detroit, and the Pistons are having to pay a pretty penny to get him out of the building, but it felt like a necessary move given the way this past season went.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, when you look at their roster with Cade Cunningham, Isaiah Stewart, the Thompson brother, I mean, they've got a lot of good young players that they drafted. They have 4 guys that were selected in the top 5 of the recent drafts, and yet they got worse this year than they improved. And so I don't think anybody expected Monty to come in and set the world on fire with the 1-loss record, but I think they expected Monty to come in and improve their players, improve the team, and that didn't happen. And I think once they saw that, it really wasn't a hard question to replace him. The hard question was the owner going to eat the contract? I think that's really what mattered, and I think they got them to do that. So I applaud them for not falling into the sunk cost fallacy, which typically happens to most pro sports teams. Well, we got to pay them. You know, they're showing their fan base they're committed to winning. They're showing their fan base they're not going to tolerate it because the fans know. I mean, you could see it. You know, Monty's collected his paycheck. He's going to be fine. I mean, he got $20 million to leave the Suns. He's got, 60-some million to leave this. He's got generational wealth, which is rare to come by as a coach. Generational wealth is remarkable for somebody who's coaching in the league. And a lot of other coaches owe Monty a big thank you because once Monty got that deal, Spoelstra got his deal, right? You know, we saw Ty Lue get his deal. Popovich got a redo deal. You know, Coach Bud got a new deal. So they all owe him a great, great honor for reaching and paying.
I didn't give you nearly enough time for what's on Michael's mind today, Michael, but I know I know you got to do it. So here you go. Here you have the floor.
Yeah. Well, today is today's June 19th. I was born on this day a long time ago, and one of my favorite shows, one of my favorite characters on television, James Gandolfini, unfortunately died on this day in Italy, in Rome, and it's sad. He was born in '61. He went to Rutgers. He's a Jersey guy. He made one of the most historic shows in our television lifetime. That's still powerful today. That still resonates. That I could still find some form of message that you could use. Because of the great writing by David Chase. So Gandolfini left us way too early. He left his son behind, Michael. And this is a day that in one part, you're happy you get another year, but you're really sad about the great James Gandolfini not being with us. And also sad about Say Hey Willie Mays. I mean, because let's be clear, growing up, there was nothing better than watching Willie Mays make that catch over his shoulder in Ebbets Field in the back, or I think it was Ebbets Field is where he was. But no, it was the Polo Grounds. I apologize. But more than anything, you know what I loved about Willie Mays is when I used to watch him play stickball in his pants. That was incredible.
Gone at 93. Life well lived and long, and I hope we all can get to 93. But he'll certainly be remembered, as is James Gandolfini. We're going to hit the break. When we come back, we're talking Bengals with beat reporter Jay Morrison. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. Now here is your host, Stormy Buonantony, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Get excited. We're just over a week away from releasing the VSiN NFL Betting Guide, your ultimate resource for all things football season, packed with detailed team, division, and conference analysis, and of course, best bets for the upcoming season. To get the guide, though, you must be a VSiN Pro subscriber, and right now, you can sign up for a VSiN Pro annual subscription for just $199, down from our usual $240 price. Plus, we're throwing in an extra month absolutely free when you use our promo code Lombardi Line. With a VSiN Pro subscription, you get exclusive access to premium analysis, expert picks, and advanced betting tools that'll give you an upper hand all year long. Don't miss out, though. This is a limited time deal. Sign up and save ahead of the NFL season by visiting vsin.com/subscribe now. And again, use that promo code Lombardi to claim your discount and bonus month. Play more NFL conversation here in hour 2 of the Lombardi Line alongside Michael Lombardi. Stormy Buonantony with you as we welcome to the show Bengals beat reporter for Pro Football Network, Jay Morrison, on the Progressive Guest Line. You can follow him on X at @ByJayMorrison. And listen, there are a lot of angles and things that we need to get into as it pertains to Cincinnati, but I'm going to start with something that's a little bit off the wall. First of all, love in your bio that you're a fellow Arby's super fan. I want to thank you for being loud and proud because they do not get the respect they deserve. And I couldn't help but notice that you left Skyline Chili out of the bio. What is the truth, Jay Morrison, about Skyline Chili? I need to know.
The truth, it's delicious. I love it. But there's two in Cincinnati. There's Gold Star, there's Skyline. You find a lot of people that take sides. I don't take sides. I think they're both delicious. I hit them equally as often.
Well played. That was very.
Is it as good as Chili John's is in Green Bay?
Well, I've not had John's. It's not your typical chili. I'm sure you guys have heard. It's got a cinnamony taste to it. It's thinner and runny. And I get it where people that aren't used to it don't like it. But, living here, growing up here, you just kind of raised on it. And it's an acquired taste for some, just like beer. A lot of people don't like beer on first taste, but the more you consume it, the more you like it.
There you go. It all comes together. Well, none of us are going to be particularly healthy while we're consuming chili. Joe Burrow's health is more so the question that we are asking ourselves when it comes to Cincinnati. And that wrist, based on what you've seen from OTA's mandatory minicamp, the way that Joe Burrow has talked about it, what's your understanding of where he sits right now from a health standpoint and coming back this season?
I think he's right where he wants to. Let me rephrase that. He's right where the team wants him to be. I think he wants to be further ahead. The players always want to just get the rehab over and get it done. He was always pointing towards May as the time to get back and really start letting it rip and start throwing. And he did. He looked terrific early on once he started hitting the field for OTA practices. And then, something changed a little bit. The last week, of OTAs, the week of mini camp, he It wasn't the same Joe Burrow. And that doesn't mean he had a setback. He's been open and honest about being smarter this time with the injury. He feels like he tried to push through the calf, and it ended up costing him. And it really kind of derailed the season. And if he's feeling the slightest discomfort in the wrist, rather than shutting it down, he still went through mini camp and still went through the install and was out there for the team. But it was just a noticeable difference in how he was throwing the ball and how Jake Browning was throwing the ball. So I think sometimes we forget where the process that rehab is. So he said it, just September 8th. That's the target in his mind. That's when he wants to be fully healthy. So I don't know that it's a setback. He's just kind of being cautious and not really letting the ball go the way that we're used to seeing, or the way we saw him doing early on when he first hit the field.
So the offensive line has always been a concern, and they spent a lot of money. They signed Trent Brown to a make-it contract, kind of put the carrot in front of them. They draft Amarius Mims in the first round. Who will be the starting right tackle, and is Trent Brown in any kind of shape to compete for the job?
He's a big man. It's hard to tell when there's that much girth if he's in shape or not. I don't know. We'll see how he comes back after the break. I mean, I think he's the front runner. He's going to be given every chance to win that job. Ideally, they'd like for Amarius Mims to kind of do some on-the-job training and be there as an insurance piece. But Trent skipped a large chunk of the on-field work, the voluntary portion. He came back for mandatory minicamp. He said he had some family issues he had to take care of, but that just gave Amarius more time to get ingrained in the offense, and he's been following Orlando Brown Jr. at the hip, just doing everything he does, listening to him. I think it's going to be a heck of a battle. I think it's wide open in camp, and we'll see. And then we'll see what happens if, Trent Brown's kind of got that reputation as a little bit of a mercurial guy, and how will he react if he doesn't win that job? It's a very affordable contract, just $4.5 million. So Amarius Mims he could beat him out. If I'm guessing, I think it's probably going to be Trent Brown to start the season, but I'd be surprised if we don't see Amarius Mims starting before the end of the year.
Jay Morrison, Bengals beat writer, joining us on the Progressive guest line. Let's talk about wide receiver contracts a little bit. What led to T. Higgins ultimately signing his franchise tender, and any news on the Jamar Chase contract while we have you?
Yeah, nothing new on the Jamar Chase contract. I'd be surprised if they get it done before training camp, even before the regular season this year. It would make sense for him to kind of play it out. He's in a little bit different situation. They've already picked up the 5th-year option. So he's under contract this year and next year, and he wants to go over Justin Jefferson, and I think the Bengals will be able to get that done in terms of average annual value, go a little bit over 35 per year. I don't know that he's going to get the $110 million guarantee that Justin Jefferson got. It's just not the way the Bengals do business, and it makes sense for Jamar to play this out and see if he can have one more stellar year and then have some more firepower to try to get some more of that guaranteed money and maybe go even a little bit higher than Justin did. T. Higgins, it was a bit of a surprise. I really thought this was going to follow the same path that Jesse Bates, the safety, 2 years ago did. Both of them represented by the same agent, David Mulgeta. Jesse sat out everything and then came back 2 days after the second preseason game. And it just kind of felt like that was a template, and that's how T was going to handle it. And for him to sign this early and make a commitment to be there for the start of OTAs, I think is great news for Bengals fans. Last year, Joe Burrow wasn't developing time in camp with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and the rest of the guys. He had the calf injury, and then 2 years ago he had the appendectomy. In 2020, it was COVID and everything was pushed back. So this is really going to be the first time in quite a while that Burrow's been out there with all of his weapons and gotten everybody together for the start of camp and go all the way through camp. So big news for T. Higgins. He's not going to ruffle any feathers. He's going to come in, try to have a great year. He's going to get paid one way or another in 2025, and it just seems like everybody's committed this year to making the big run at the Super Bowl. I'm not saying the Bengals window is going to close after this year, but it's never going to be wider open than it is right now.
Yeah, and a lot of this is going to come down to, can they play defense the way they have in the past? And last year we saw them with two young safeties struggle with communication, and certainly it drove Lou Anarumo crazy. This year, watching practices, Jay, what's your sense of the defense, and how much of an impact has Geno Stone made in the return of Von Bell?
Yeah, it's been huge. We actually just had Lou on our podcast this morning, and he talked about it too, just the knowledge those guys bring, just the football intelligence. For Geno, it's raw. For Von, it's there, and it's familiarity with the system after just 1 year away. Not a lot has changed. And, it looked like Jordan Battle, the rookie third-round pick last year, was really kind of getting things going, and he started from week 11 on, and it felt like he was going to be the starter this year, but he was still a young guy. He didn't have a veteran to learn under. And now you bring in Geno Stone and Von Bell, and it kind of sets Von Bell back. And Lou said, no, this is the best thing that could possibly happen to Jordan Battle. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think it might be an Amarius Mims, Trent Brown situation where Von's going to come in here, get everybody set, get everybody on the same page. But he is a little older, and Jordan Battle is young, and they've got a high pick invested in him. And it wouldn't surprise me if once everybody's on the same page and all those busted coverages and protection errors and all those things are out of the way, maybe Jordan Battle kind of ascends into that starting role some point in midseason, and Von Bell takes a little bit of a backseat.
Jay, we've only got about 30 seconds left. We know what odds makers have put the win total at for Cincinnati this year, but if you had to set a number, your expectations based on what you've learned about the team to this point and looking at the schedule, how many wins do you think this team is capable of?
I think 12 is realistic. You look at that schedule, there's no reason they shouldn't be 3-1 out of the gate, and possibly 4-0. I mean, I know it's crazy to say with a trip to Kansas City on there, but that's when you want to get the Chiefs, is early in the year. And this team is a track record of starting slow and then really kind of finding their way and finishing strong. So if they can keep that strong finish part of it in play and actually get off to a good start for the first time in a long time, yeah, I think 12's in play.
Jay, we so appreciate your time. Thanks so much for the insight.
Great job.
All right, thanks for having me on, guys.
Jay.
Jay Morrison, follow him at @ByJayMorrison on X. Again, win total for the Bengals, 10.5. He thinks 12 is in play. Those opening 4 games against New England, at Kansas City, versus Washington on Monday Night Football, and at Carolina. We'll be right back.
This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. Now here is your host, Stormy Bonatoni, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you like watching and listening to VSiN, don't forget about all the great betting tools and content also available at VSiN.com. We load all our best bets from show hosts and guests, as well as betting splits, pro tips, trends, and betting news. Even in the dog days of summer, you can find daily betting previews for games in Major League Baseball and the WNBA, as well as Euro soccer and tennis going on right now. Plus, on the homepage today, our own Mike Somich is looking ahead to the NFL season with a starter's guide to creating your own power rankings. Which categories are most important to include first? Mike's got the answers right now at VSiN.com. Alongside former NFL General Manager Michael Lombardi, I'm Stormy Bonatoni. We are coming to you from coast to coast. As always, Michael's out there at his office in Jersey. I'm live in downtown Las Vegas at Circa Resort and Casino. Want to continue some of our conversation we had earlier in hour 1, Michael, with your summer school assignments. There are still so many teams that we have to get through to hit on all 32.
Ooh, boy.
As teams are taking their break right now, and they might get a little bit of downtime, right? It's very reminiscent to like when a kid goes to summer school in the summer. Like, yes, you get your free time, you get to go to the pool, do all your fun stuff. But then before you know it, you're going to have that summer reading list you have to hit. You got to get ready for day 1 of the school year. So as you're giving out some summer school assignments to these teams when they're preparing for training camp, I want to start with the New Orleans Saints here, this segment, a team that last year I felt a lot of people expected to be much more in the mix for an NFC title than ultimately they were. This year, the expectations not very high for this team, despite, again, playing in a division on paper that we think is one of the more winnable. Their win total is 7.5. They're a -210 number to miss the playoffs. What are your expectations for New Orleans, and what do they need to focus on this offseason, this handful of weeks before training camp, to put themselves in the best position?
Well, they got to get the quarterback, Derek Carr, to play like he did for the last 5 games of the year. Not the game in Los Angeles, but for the most part. I mean, here's the reality of New Orleans. Their offensive line was a mess last year. You know, Trevor Penning, the kid they drafted in the first round, was injured. Ryan Ramczyk was injured. So the tackle situation wasn't very good. And whenever the line's not good, Carr's going to feel threatened. He's going to worry. And it's going to be problematic. But when he's healthy and he's throwing the football effectively, they're a good team. I mean, they go, I know they beat Carolina, New York, Tampa, and Atlanta at the end of the year, but that's who they play. The winner of the South doesn't mean they're a great team. It means they get 2 games against Atlanta, 2 games against Tampa, 2 games against Carolina. Those are not great teams. And I think that this is a perfect situation. It sets up perfectly for them. Because Dennis Allen, who gets a lot of crap as a head coach, but he is a very good defensive coordinator. And when they don't turn the ball over, in those last 5 weeks, they had 1 turnover. They had 2 turnovers in their 4-1 stretch. They went into Tampa when Tampa had a chance to win the division and soundly beat the Bucs. They threw for 292 on them. They moved the football up and down the field. It wasn't as close as the 23-13 game. So this is about Carr. Carr can't be Ricky Fowler. He can't be a guy who shoots 74, 75, and then comes back and shoots 66 and 66. Like, you're going to have to shoot 66 on Thursday, and another 66 on Saturday and Sunday. You just can't do that. And unfortunately, Carr's got that rep. Everybody kind of knows he's going to check it down. He's going to not throw it down the field. He's going to have great numbers, but no wins.
Well, that's the thing. He's Mr. Dink and Dunk, and then bolstering the numbers in garbage time. And it's really frustrating because going into last season, he was a quarterback I believed in and wanted to buy in on, because I said, finally, for the first time in his career, he's got a good defense to support him. All these things, and then what do we end up getting? It's like the same old story with Derek Carr here. When you look at the NFC South as a whole, the Falcons are a -115 odds-on favorite to win the division, followed by the Bucs at +300, the Saints there at +340, and the Carolina Panthers the longest shot at 11-1. If someone's betting this market or betting in the NFC South, do you pretty much just have to pick a team to win the division and avoid the to make the playoffs market? Because if any of these teams are making the postseason, it's going to be the division winner, right? You don't see 2 teams from this division getting out of it.
Right. I can't, but, stranger things have happened. We've seen that before, right? But I agree. I think you got to pick one of these teams, and I'm not sure it's going to be settled until the end of the year. I mean, let's be clear. I think it's going to take some time to figure this all out, because no team is going to dominate and come in. And the quarterbacking play on every single team is somewhat suspect. It could be good in Atlanta for a game. It may be, obviously Cousins is the best quarterback, but what happens if their defense doesn't play well? So I think you got to be really careful here. This gives you the in-game time.
All right, let's go to the NFC East, a division of the haves and have-nots. The Giants, the longest shot in that division, at 12-1. Important make-or-break year for their quarterback, the $40 million man, Daniel Jones. He's not going to have that support in the run game from Saquon Barkley anymore, who's moved on to Philadelphia. Lots of questions with that offensive line that they have been trying to retool for a decade, and nothing has worked out. What's on the assignment list for New York?
Well, the assignment is, can we get Evan Neal to play good, right? Everybody thought they signed Jerome Illuminor to be the right tackle. They're going to play him at guard. That's not his position. He's more of a tackle. But they're going to, because they have Neal and they want Neal, their draft pick, to play, they're going to put him out at right tackle, which actually weakens the Giants' offensive line in 2 areas. So the Giants' offensive line is still a conversation. Secondly, where are they going with Daniel Jones? He's the only quarterback in NFL history that's had a $100 million contract that has yet to throw for 3,500 yards or 25 touchdowns in one season. Just chew on that for a while. And then defensively, they're going from Martindale, who was a lot of defense, a lot of blitzes, a lot of changes, to a very vanilla-based defense. They're going to rely on their pass rush. Thibodeau, they're going to rely on Dexter Lawrence inside, who's a very good player, and they're going to rely on Brian Burns, who they traded a 2nd and a 5th round pick for. So there's questions all over for the Giants, but they start with the offensive line and the quarterback more than anything.
No doubt about it.
Oh, by the way, Stormy, I forgot. Who's replacing Barkley? Devin Singletary. Can he hold up?
Yeah.
One thing about Barkley, when, he's in the backfield, he gave you some power. Singletary played very well for Houston last year. Can he do it again? I don't know.
This team exceeded expectations largely in year one under Brian Daboll. He was coach of the year, and it seems like year two, year three, we're taking steps back. Won 6 games last year. Win total this season set at 6.5, and it is plus money to the over. So the expectation, it's 6 or fewer wins yet again for the New York Football Giants. We got a few more minutes here. Might as well go back to some of the coaches in college football that we didn't get to in hour one. We were talking about all of the change in the college football landscape. It's not just conference realignment and transfer portal and the expanded college football playoff field. There's a lot of head coaching movement this year in college football as well. And another guy Bill O'Brien, is now the head coach at Boston College. He had success as the coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Alabama, went to New England for a year, wasn't great. He was hired at Ohio State for all of 3 weeks before he then accepts this job with BC. I still have a lot of ACC research to go, but some of these numbers do seem really low. This team went 7-6 last year. Win total in 2024 set at 5. Too high, too low, or just right?
Well, I think the problem is we all don't know how good the players that transferred and once he got to come in.
Right.
And how good of a head coach is Billy O, right? That's the question. Can he do what he did at Penn State and build this program? Boston College is a lot tougher job than Penn State, even coming after the Sandusky fiasco up in State College. So I think they're probably just right. Look, the ACC, we don't know if they're any good. Right? We know Florida State can be good. The great Will Hill thinks Clemson's not going to go over their 9.5 win total, which tells you something right there. So I think it's probably just right. If I bet anything, I would probably lean towards the under 5 wins. But, if he gets the right quarterback in there, coaching in college football can make such a huge difference, Stormy. And if he, in understanding how to move the football effectively, could be a good thing.
Yeah, Thomas Castellanos, a good dual threat guy. He had only 15 passing touchdowns, but 13 on the ground last year. And the juice is on that under 5 wins where it sits right now. We'll see how year one goes. But you're right, the ACC isn't exactly a gauntlet on paper. One more last minute and a half. Mike Elko, he's back in College Station as head coach Texas A&M, replacing Jimbo Fisher. Speaking of all those contracts and guys getting paid, he's still getting paid handsomely by Texas A&M. Strong returning production. We know Elko's a great recruiter.
Jimbo and Monty ought to there ought to be like a development in America where Jimbo and Monty are just hanging out. Guys who make over $50 million to do nothing should have like their own section, right?
Why can't I get a contract like that? Although I don't want to get fired and get paid. Getting paid sounds nice. Anyways, the win total for Texas A&M, 8.5 here. I love his offensive coordinator hire, Colin Klein from Kansas State. Schedule seems to set up nicely for them. What do you think?
I think Elko will make them tougher, and he'll give them a really good defensive coach. And I think that's really important. What he did at Duke last year was impressive. Plus, he knows the landscape there. I think these numbers are a little low. I think I would play the overs on them. A&M has players. There's no question. Jimbo had players. He is like Mario Cristobal, has good players, can't coach them.
Yep. To your point, when he was the defensive coordinator at A&M, they ranked number 3 in the country in defense. They host Notre Dame week 1, host Missouri, which will be a tough out, host LSU, Texas the last game. But again, all of those are at home. Interesting for Texas A&M. We'll be right back.
This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. Now here is your host, Stormy Buonantony, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Remember, on the Lombardi Line, as well as every show here at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, you get pro tips throughout the course of the show, but we make sure that we put it in a centralized spot for you on the website at VSiN.com as well. You can search it by sport and by show if you're looking for something specific. But as we round out this Wednesday edition of the Lombardi Line, it's time for our pro tip of the day. And it's one of these things where I've got to take a sip of my own medicine here, Michael, and just remember I am heavily invested on the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup Final. I need to relax for a second and not actively chase.
Relax. Everybody calm down. Everybody calm down. Stormy's going to be okay. Everybody calm down. It's going to be good, right?
We shall see. But I think that it's good to remind people, especially because here at VSiN, we want to express best practices. We want to share the importance of bankroll management, right? And I was adamant about the Florida Panthers winning the series. I'm invested in them in a series bet. I bet them hard yesterday, and I just need to take a moment and say my handicap right now is not going the way that I thought this series was going to go. Sometimes the best bet is no bet at all. I'm going to step back. I'm going to cut my losses for a second. Maybe after game 6, I'll have a better read on things. I'll still share my opinions, but I don't have a bet right now on game 6. I don't think that I'm going to put something down on it. I'm just going to play out my series wager and see what happens from there. But I know it's hard because we see something happen. We want to make sure that we're getting back on the right side of a series. We want to be cashing tickets and winning money. But if things aren't going your way, it's okay to take a step back and say, I'm going to pause for a moment.
You can't force it. And I think sometimes you're better off just really collecting more information. There's a great line that says, wisdom comes later. Wisdom will come later if you let it happen.
Well, prayers up for your girl. VSiN Pro Tips, again, available at VSiN.com.
I always am praying.
Love you. We're going to wrap things up here, having a little bit of fun like we always do on a Wednesday. Let's roll that open for Why Not Wednesday.
Question, maybe a stupid one, but I'm just spitballing here.
Can it make you say why not?
That wasn't a stupid question.
It's time for Why Not Wednesday.
I mean, why not?
You know when they say it's so crazy it just might work?
Doesn't that music just get you going? Okay, we're throwing some long shot and plus money props at Michael. See if we can get him to turn his head and say, why not? Starting with Trevor Lawrence, who just signed a big money deal last week. Could you say why not? To Lawrence, taking a step in 2024-25 to lead the NFL in passing. The price is 25-1.
No way. Here's why.
Oh.
Okay. If he's leading the league in passing, he's not going to make it through the season. He's going to get killed. He needs to have a balanced attack. He needs to have a play-action pass game and a run game, something more than just Travis Etienne, who's fabulous. So for me, this is about balance for him. He's not going to carry a team, even though they paid him like he will.
And if he didn't have the 21 turnovers, who knows where all of those other passing yards could have gone. But okay, no shot on the 25-1. If not T-Law, what about Joey B? Could he lead the Bengals to be the NFL's highest scoring team this coming season? The price set at 15-1. Could you say why not?
I could say why not to that. Look, I think that other than the right tackle position, this Bengal team is good. I know Zach Moss isn't, in people's evaluation as good as Joe Mixon, but he played better than Joe Mixon last year for Indianapolis. So I do think they can be as explosive as anybody. And if he plays 17 games, they can score a lot of points. I mean, look, we saw Jake Browning do some really good things for them, what they did last year. I know they finished 16th in points scored last year with Jake Browning. Think about it.
Any impact with Callahan now moving on to a head coaching gig, or no, it's Zach Taylor's offense anyways, it's fine?
I think it's fine, because Zach called the plays anyway. Now, I'm not dismissing what Brian did, but I do think that Zach called the plays. He's the offensive coordinator. The big challenge for Cincy is what we had with Jay on earlier this hour, where we talked about their defense. 31 in yards allowed. They were 32nd in pass defense in terms of yards per attempt against them, 28th in yards. And they couldn't stop the run. They gave up 30. They were 30th in the league in yards per attempt. They've got to improve in that area tremendously, and they can with the new defensive players.
Yesterday here on the Lombardi Line, we showed our audience the clip from this past Friday at Game 4 of the NBA Finals, where Joel Embiid was up on the stage on ESPN. Paul George was next to him, and he gave Paul George that little side eye. Eyes were big when he was talking about adding pieces to the 76ers. Could you say why not on a plus 280 bet? Bet $100 to win $280 on Paul George to head to Philly.
No, it's an easy why not. I mean, they're going to sign him. They'll overpay him. and then they'll wonder why he misses 45 games, and Boston will win Boston will be 8 games ahead of them, and Embiid will be talking about, you want me to go through the whole thing for you? They'll be, we're great. This is the best team. This is the best players I've had around us. Look, the most active team this summer will be the 76ers because they really only have, Maxi's a restricted free agent. They have Paul Reed, who they could opt out of. There's no guaranteed money. And then they have Embiid. So they only have 2 players currently. Ricky Council's under contract, and so is Jeff Doughton. But other than that, that's all they have. So, they have a bunch of cap room. And nobody likes to sign older, declining players more than Daryl Morey. Nobody does. He specializes in it. He loves it, enjoys it. He loves it, and it drives me crazy. I need another team. God dang it, I can't live like this, Stormy. I'm sitting here complaining I can't live like this.
Tale as old as time for Daryl Morey. And I shout out producer Elliot for throwing that in there, always keeping it fun there with the Michael Lombardi content.
He knows how to just irritate me on my birthday, too. He's irritated. I was trying to be happy. God, Elliot. Look. They're going to sign Paul George. They'll sign just a bunch of trade away the 16th pick of the, because who would we pick? We wouldn't know who to pick. God knows we hate draft picks.
Yeah, let's not go down the draft road, because I know that's a wound that's open and going to be open for a long time when it comes to the 76ers. How about the Boston Celtics? They are plus 290 to defend their NBA title. Oh. Could you say why not? They started as a favorite and won as a favorite.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I would take it at 190. I would take it at plus 1. That's good money. Why not? You'd take this too, wouldn't you?
Not at plus 290. Come on, man. We got to shop around. We got to look for some better numbers for an NBA title. I believe that this is the beginning of the future for the Celtics, but come on, man.
But they bring their whole team back, Stormy. I think Derek White's a free agent, right? He's the only guy. But no, I think the real fair question is, will they be willing to go over the cap? They've paid the luxury tax 2 years in a row now. And so they're going to have to figure that out. I do think Derek White, yes, he's a free. No, not until 2025 he's a free agent. They have him one more year. I don't know. And I love Jordan Walsh, who they drafted. That's called a draft pick, the kid from Arkansas. Watch him play better next year.
All right.
These are draft picks. Philly, that's foreign to them. Well, let's trade him Markelle Fultz. Let's trade for him.
Well, okay, if we're going to buy in on Boston, let's come at this from a different angle. If I'm making a bet in June for the NBA, Michael, and it wasn't for the NBA Finals, but for next year, I want better than plus 290. So could you say why not?
I got that. I understand it.
Could you say why not to this one? Jason Tatum, then, to win MVP this coming season. That's 16-1. Could we get on board and say why not to that maybe instead?
I'll get on the Celtics ship. Whatever ship you want me to get on, I'll get on. Anything Celtics, you can have me on that ship. I will. Who's their competition? Elliot's right. The Pacers are really the only. Who's going to beat them? Miami's in a flux. Butler won't play. Of course, we'll probably trade for Butler 2 years too late. Why wouldn't we?
The Pacers, as Harry Gagnon showed us earlier today, he placed a 50-1 ticket already on Indiana for next year, so throw that out. That's the number there. The British Open, Rory McIlroy, Michael, could you say why not? No, okay, that's a no. 7-1? No, nothing?
No, I to me, the demons of that 3 putts are just gonna haunt him. He's going to need some time.
He's taken some time. He's taken the month off. He's taken the month off.
I think, but you see, that's the thing. You don't want to take the month off. You want to take the time to go through and make those, get more confidence to make them. Taking the time off just delays the reaction to dealing with what you have to deal with. Like, I would have told Rory, get your butt up there. They're playing in Canada this week? Go up there and play. We need reps. We need to be able to, we need to write a new song. We can't just live off that one. We got to write a new album out here. And we got to get 3-footers in front of us that we have to make in pressure situations. You can go back to your backyard and make all the 3-footers you want. You got to be under pressure with people watching. Now you take a month off, you think all of a sudden the yips aren't coming back? You remember Chuck Knobloch, who couldn't throw the ball to second base? How many days did he take off?
Maybe he should just transition to NASCAR or F1 with how quickly he got that car out of there. Maybe he's got a second career. Who knows?
No doubt. He looked like Jim Rockford racing around in the corner. I was so proud. I mean, Rockford probably was upset with him.
Enjoy the rest of your birthday. Stop working for the rest of the day, okay?
Thank you, Stormy. Have a great day. You're the best.
See ya.
DraftKings, giving a bonus bet back if I lose so I don't have to sweat my bet?